Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dead Air Podcast, episode 26. Previously, there was a hidden lost media episode of the podcast involving Lammarite, a well-known figure in the community, but we finally got him back. We've solved all the issues on our side, and it's time to do it for real. So introducing, for the first time, Lammarite to the Dead Air Podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good. It's finally time for this podcast to be real.
I know, it's weird. It was like a creepypasta lost media blank. we never got it done. We just had the files all over the place with the old system of the podcast.
Yeah, I think I had some. You had some. Lammarite had a few. It was like putting together a conspiracy theory on one of those cork boards. Yeah, it was an odd one. But we decided, instead of rummaging around in the Dead Air attic, we just bring Lammarite back on the new improved system, which is good. We get to chat in-depth stuff with someone who is maybe a lot more smarter than me when it comes to the console system, I guess.
Come on.
He knows his way through some files. I've certainly seen. But yeah, no, this will be good. I remember from last time when we did this, boys. It was a yap fest. Like, we went off. I think there was like a solid 2 hours. The mental thing is as well, it would have been unreal if we got that episode out, because it was like the week before Green Lane come in. I remember halfway through when you were just like, yeah, by the way, Green Lane is real. Here's everything proving it. Like, one of these lanes are definitely being replaced. And we were like, whoa, really?
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, like, I was yapping a lot, and I plan to try and do it again if I get in the flow, because this game has so much history, so much like a very intricate development that is for the most part like not documented really anywhere, and it's a bit of a shame because they've done so many ideas of like characters, of items, of map layouts, of game modes, and it's really obscure knowledge. So I hope I can just say some of that, because it's
gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
I mean, first of all, that you're probably one of the key figures over in the Deadlock modding community, and that thing's been going on for a while now, and there's so many things coming out there. I mean, I know that people have started to learn Blender, and you could tell because some of the skins are absolutely insane. But how did that all come together? Because that actually is something I'm very curious about. Is how did that all come together at the start? Because I think that Deadlock, from being an alpha, had one of the most voracious modding communities almost immediately.
Yeah, so I joined back in like late May, around the time that like a bunch of like people who like were like wanted to know what this game was joined, and naturally like a bunch of us just began just like independently like looking at the console, at the files, and like just talking about it in the main Discord. We kind of all came together very, very slowly. We made a thread in the main Discord, and we're talking a lot there. And then we're like, let's just make a server about it to share our findings in a more like organized way, and just to talk with like-minded people. And it ended up becoming very big because we like began noticing, hey, there's like a bunch of like things that like show a very different like game style, and a bunch of like old models for heroes, and it just kind of grew into trying to like understand what this game was, what's gonna come next, and how to like exploit all that and mod it, because Source 2 Source 2 comes from like a very like moddable engine. Like it's super moddable, and it allows you to do a bunch of stuff, but a lot of games, like I believe CS2, like heavily block you from doing a bunch of stuff. But this game weirdly doesn't, so you can just like make a custom pack, add in a bunch of assets, and just like overwrite a bunch of the current like some of the content in the game to have like your own custom models, textures, whatever. And it's so much fun to do. It was like a lot of fun to like teach and to discover as well. I remember, I think if I remember right, I might be wrong on this. We like discovered hero model, like modding hero models was a bit of a pain because it's not easy. And I believe we were like trying really hard to like recover some old like Neon Prime models because Valve seemingly intentionally broke their animations so we couldn't use them. And we like were
Oh,
trying to
really?
yeah, that's a whole like rabbit hole, but it seems like they tried to somehow like remove all their animations. We like tried to add them back. It was a mess, and we did it like months ago, and since then it has led to like so many like character models being made. I believe there was a Dirt Killer who like researched all this stuff. He's a crazy person if you've heard of him.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of the mad stuff that was coming out back in the day, man. It's interesting as well because you're right in the sense, like obviously coming from a CS heavy background, there just was never the support for it. I mean, we did a little bit, like early CS:GO back on like the original Source engine, well, not Gold Source, of course, for those of you watching. It was the way that like we could customize the HUD, play around with some things, and then there was one update where I think it was before we swapped to Panorama for the UI. They were just like, nah, we're not doing it anymore. I think weirdly their exact wording was, "We'll bring it back someday." Like we'll bring it back, but that day never came. And now obviously we're in CS2 on Source 2. But I was curious about that because obviously you guys have kind of publicized over on the modding Discord just how simple it is, and well, not the modding itself, but getting the mods to run. And it is actually quite an understandable, digestible process, which I was shocked with because originally I remember when everything was coming out about Source 2 in development, even Valve themselves were kind of like getting our hands around this engine and getting it to do everything we want has been a bit of a task. But it felt like with Deadlock, it was, pretty good to go for you boys once you got in there and kind of started playing around. That modding scene did bloom very quickly. So was it quite an arduous process at the start, or did it just obviously sort of come together where everyone was so passionate and because the game supported it? And obviously, I think Yoshi did say back then, right? He was like, look, as long as it's not for an advantage in game, we don't mind. If we ever change our stance, we'll let you guys know. But for now, go nuts.
Yeah. I wasn't like exactly the one who did like a lot of like the like technical discoveries of like how to mod. I just kind of like learned all this knowledge and began like doing stuff with that. But I don't really remember. It's been like a year now, so it's like
yeah, it's true.
It's kind of hard to remember like such details. I just remember having a lot of fun with it and just like and data mining a lot because it turns out there's assets from like 2021 that are like untouched still in the files just chilling, and it's or even before that, and it's so much fun, and there's a lot as well. Or just for like general just modding it, when you get to learn it, it's somewhat easy. The only annoying part is that you have to use so many different toolsets. For some things, you have to use like a very old version of Dota 2. For some things, it's CS. At least back then, it was only CS that you could use. Since then, we like found a way to merge parts of Dota and parts of CS into Deadlock to create like a tool set of tools that we can use to mod things. You want like the versions of these games to perfectly align. It's a mess. It has only happened 2 times in Deadlock's history, but it allows us to mod and to do plenty of insane things. And
so there's like certain periods in time where modding becomes just exponentially easier, and you can get way more done in those random periods when the moons align.
Yeah, exactly. Like
wow. Okay.
It's like, think about it like this, right? The current like fully working tool set is from May 26th of last year. And that's the one where you can like make models in. So as the game goes on and develops, it becomes like harder to do these things because they keep like adding more like engine features, or they add like things to the game that this build just isn't up to date with. So like making mods is getting like the process has been like getting more optimized, but with time it's still getting harder and harder just because of how old like the version of the tools are. There's a more like up-to-date version from September, but it's like limited in different ways. The only way that this would get easier is if by a miracle the engines, like the versions perfectly aligned, which happened I believe a couple weeks ago when they released the item update, but it was like a couple of numbers off, so it was just
So
it failed.
weird.
So it is literally just limited by having each branch of source, I guess, for the respective games to give you the tools to you say, all be unified, and then you could move to a newer build
Trinity.
in terms of okay, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it is wild. It is wild.
Man,
Because
that
it's
is
crazy.
yeah.
Because it's like, I think I mean, please don't crucify me, guys, but I'm gonna just say the bikini mod when that first came out.
Oh
that
my
was,
God.
I think that was like a coming together moment. Everyone experienced it and being like, "Wow, that's actually
Mate,
crazy." What
you
can
can't
do.
use that turn of phrase.
Yeah,
That's mental.
Well,
I mean,
no, I'm getting. There's context.
all right.
Because that was the crazy moment, and then recently, obviously, we've had the Yamato redesign, which is based off the concept art, and I think that's probably like one of the most fleshed out ones I've seen in a while. Where I think that came out and people actually thought it was a leak. It was that good.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that they're working on like what is not the optimal settings, yet they're starting to look this good now. So it just shows how far people have come since bikini times.
And that skin was the catalyst for like almost like it was done super early on, and it has led to so many mods since then.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, you
I'm
know,
glad.
it drew people in. It drew people in. It gave them a reason to spot the modding. I think it also taught a lot of people how easy it was. Because I remember that one did get widespread. That was showing up like, on streams and videos.
Yeah. Then you
Zacky
had Bloody
loved
Paradox
it.
coming out.
Yeah. Man, it's wild. I do like the total conversion stuff that we've seen with that. I remember, I think it was Turkiller, right? When he do the SAS model from CS, where he incorporated that one. I think it was like a replacement for Haze. I remember spotting that, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like the animations are in. It was like the Mac 10s rather than Haze's guns. Yeah, that was really interesting.
And because I believe that was one of the first ones as well that was ever made.
I thought that was early on, because I remember that was when you had like one custom port of, I think it was Dust 2 with all the working zip lines, and then the SAS model. And I was like, this is mad. Like, what's happening? It's already like CS2 in Deadlock.
Yeah. Super early on, I had made like an untextured port of Dust 2. With like all like great textures, and then like Dirt went in and made like a fully textured, fully modeled one. The guy's crazy, and it's so cool that this is even possible. Like I just love that it's like so like interlinked, like the engine. It's amazing.
So I think from the conversation we had last time, you've kind of got a big source background anyway. Because you did stuff in CS before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like messing around like with like Hammer for a while in CS, just like making maps and testing them with friends. Really, I never really got too far into that because Source 1 like modding Source 1 it's so bad. Doing like the simplest thing takes a long time, and it's not super like rewarding. Meanwhile, with like Source 2, it's much more accessible, and like when the CS2 tools came out, I dug in and like learned them a lot to try and make like cool stuff with them, and that has like led me to be able to do a bunch of stuff in Deadlock as well. It's really really fun to learn, especially when like I was able to like join like the Deadlock test so early on. I was able to like just like have fun and try things and share knowledge, and it's
Well, I
It's
mean,
awesome.
if there's people interested, we can always drop a Discord link in the description, Jacky, or even pin a
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, get that in there because I think that was always the plan last time. Is it was supposed to be like
Yeah.
a beacon for anyone that's been watching Dead Air that wanted to also get involved in the modding side. Because there is obviously back then there was quite a bit, but that was like 6 months ago now. So it has
Oh, yeah, you're
changed a
right.
lot, right? Like the quality of mods that people are putting out, also the unique styles of things as well. Because there's some stuff I found recently. There's a person that did it's like a sandbox tool set, and it's infinitely better. Where it's like
Yeah.
all separate tabs, you can remove all the entities, customize each element of the HUD. I was like, damn, like these quality of life things for this sort of stuff. I was like, this is incredible. I remember there's one bit of the mod where it's like enable no cooldowns, but actually no cooldowns.
Oh
It's
my
God,
like,
yeah.
that's actually what I needed.
Yeah, that mod is that mod is really good. I had worked on a similar in scale mod in terms of UI. It was like a remake of the Neon Prime UI. I worked on it with Deer, and that mod it was pretty impressive for a long time, and then kind of just fell apart because the game was being like updated too fast, and we were like, no, we're not gonna deal with this, because every update it would break, and updating it was very tedious, especially because since our build is getting like older and older and older with time, on the UI side it's a mess. The person who made that mod for the like testing tools, huge props, because holy, that is really good.
Oh yeah, I do love that. I do love that. I will actually. You've sparked a memory in my brain, but I remember, right? So because you were making like the UI stuff and like a lot of little callbacks to Neon Prime, which obviously I think most people now we kind of talk about it a lot. It's getting publicized more. There's a good portion of the player base that understands sort of what Neon Prime is now, and a bit of the hurdy-turdy, uppy-downy, windy,
Yep.
timey-wimey development process that Deadlock's been through.
Yeah.
But I loved the fact I would always see your clips of you just playing with like Steam Happy 7, like Green
Yeah.
Abrams, all this stuff with the Neon Prime HUD, and people would go, is this Neon Prime gameplay? And it would like show up on a Reddit thread with someone like Neon Prime is leaked, here it is. And I'm just like, oh, it's
I
Lammarite.
remember, yeah. I had
So the HTML5.
yeah, it's like what was it, like, oh, I think like 7-8 months ago, I had done like a very small like sandbox map to like practice and just like look at like Neon Prime assets, and I went on that map with like the Neon Prime HUD on. I was playing Bebop, I believe. I just like messed around a little bit, super compressed the footage, and then like 6 months later, it's on Reddit, and like people think it's a leak. It was so funny. It's
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It did like fool the wider community because obviously I think like Neon Prime kind of, the concept of seeing it in the wild was so scarce that the fact that had any kind of elements of it,
yeah.
it just got everyone. It was the greatest like Ashton Kutcher moment, but it's just you going, it's Lammarite. You've been punked. Like, oh, but it cracked me up. But I did love that as well because it was very interesting to see just how much you could do with the HUD in like an early state as well. Because that was almost like a total conversion. We went from circles to squares. You had all the
Yep.
portrait images. Everything was moved. Because I remember there was also one point where you had it working again, where instead of the actual souls on death, you had the coins coming back and stuff like that.
Yeah. It turns out that if you change like two values, you can turn the souls into the coins, like with all the physics. Obviously,
Oh, no
it doesn't
way.
work. Yeah, like obviously it doesn't work on the server. So it's like only it's only on a local servers. But yeah, like that's all just like still in the game. Maybe not exactly to this day still, because like they changed like the mechanics so much, but at least back then you could like tweak two knobs and you would have the coins back. And as for like the visuals, most of them are like in the files, just kind of chilling in there. If you look for them, it seems like when they had Neon Prime and they were like, okay, this is not working, or like whatever else they had in mind, they very hastily tweaked everything to become more like Deadlock. So hasty that like a bunch of assets got like overwritten and lost to time. A bunch of like elements were like hastily renamed, and it's wild how quickly it seems like they have made that change. I don't have the exact date in mind, but the switch was not that long for how like drastic it was. And even if you go back to the like really old versions of Deadlock that we have access to, there's so many like Neon Prime elements. Even still today, like Bebop is just a Neon Prime model. Yamato as well, just recolored. Talon, I think Talon is the same with like a couple of parts removed. Shiv is the same as well, just with more like once again parts removed. It was a very hasty change, and since it was so hasty, they've left so much still in the files, and it has like led us to be able to make up and try to like understand as much as we can the game, what it was, how it like evolves. We've been doing this for like a year now as like a collective of like many, and I believe we have like figured out a huge chunk of what the game was. A lot of mystery still, but with like the 6 minutes of footage that we have total, and like all the leftover,
it is wild.
All the leftover strings. We have like looked at these videos frame by frame. I'm not even joking. It is wild, and it's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Oh man, yeah, I was curious about that as well, because I remember obviously. It's funny now to think back, but when we like sort of publicized more the Caldera showcase, just because it was like we got to document this somewhere, so it's uploaded, you can kind of get a grasp of it all. We obviously discussed then. You gave me a hand, like looking for everything, explain the sort of timeline as you understood it then. Flash forward like a year later now. Has anything changed? Have you guys made any discoveries where you've realized, like, actually, we've kind of pinpointed sort of, in terms of the development, like, here's roughly the start, here's where they sort of had the change from, this is going to be a Half-Life game, to, God, where did we go from there? Obviously, Neon Prime, then sort of Shadowline, and it just kept sort of bouncing around. Do we have more of an understanding now of the flow of sort of how it all came about?
In terms of all this, I believe like the flow is still like relatively similar, where it's Citadel, whatever that was, probably a bunch of like gameplay tests and whatever. Then it sort of evolved into Neon Prime. Neon Prime spans like multiple eras. You have like the more like daytime. You have like the sunset daytime area, which there's like one video remaining. It's like Bebop on a cliff. It's like watching over the map. That video,
I remember this one, yeah.
That video, I believe, is dated June 2021. It's
That's
crazy
really
old.
Long ago.
Yeah. For some reason, in some of these videos, they left over like when they encoded them, they left a timestamp, which is great for us. That Bebop video is from like June 2021. And it's on Caldera, on a very, very, very old version of Caldera, one that is different than any that we've ever seen. Bebop as well is really old. Like he has like a big gun under his arm. I believe,
he's like mounted gun on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have those textures, but we don't have the model. And it seemed like back then Bebop was maybe the same character. I think Bebop like barely changed for development. So that's that. Then it began evolving into Overcast, which is like the very like gray footage that we have. We have a bunch of it left as well. It's the map was a lot closer to what it was in like the later Neon Prime that we know, but the lighting was pretty. It was it was overcast. A lot of the models were very work in progress too. Like I believe Inferno just looks super rough. We have the dates for that. I don't remember them on the heart. I believe it's like early 2022. Those were the dates of the overcast one. Then it evolved into nighttime. For some reason they were like, okay, let's make it nighttime, and we don't have the dates for those videos, but we can only assume it's somewhere later down 2022, where the game became nighttime, they were heavily polishing the visuals. Like Inferno had a new model, and God knows who else. They did not have shrines back then. No base guardians, no flex slots. You had 6 slots per category, I believe. And we even
oh my god, it's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot of items. Damn.
But here's the thing: they only had up to 3k items, because when you open the shop, you can look at the scroll bar, and it's very short. I believe they only had up to 3k items. And if you look at the Inferno video where he's laning against Shiv, we counted the gold rates that he was getting. It's somewhere along the lines of, in 11 minutes he had 3,500 worth of gold. Despite
Is that it?
Despite killing Shiv multiple times, because he had like a kill streak on Shiv. Despite probably getting the waves pretty well, he only had 3,500 worth of gold. Which probably means
3-hour
that
Neon Prime games.
yeah. So I believe back then what they had is you had the tier 1 items, which was 500, that were pretty chill. Then you had 1k items, which were like closer to the 3k items that we have now, and then you had the 3k items, which were like the big boy items, right? And if you look through the files, a bunch of items that are really strong and disabled are still in this 3k category, probably because they're so old they were like never moved to the 6k. And it really like tells you a lot on how the game evolved and like what they had back then, because at the time as well, Inferno's abilities, we can see like a snippet of the tooltips. He had like very different mechanics. He was very similar, but his abilities were like really overtuned. Like his afterburn would explode on tier 3 and cause damage. I believe,
fun.
Yeah. His one was like a Molotov that he would throw on the ground. Very much like Ivy Kudzu. Ivy Kudzu stats are like really close to his Molotov. His ultimate, the stun bomb, would leave like a pool of fire on the ground. Like all these, it seemed like back then all the heroes were like much stronger. The items were scarce, but also much stronger themselves. And the economy, and you had like a very, very slow economy. It's so interesting. And you had no shrines, no flex slots. It really like, and no base guardians too. It's super interesting to see like how this kind of, like how they went from that into Deadlock, which is like this like super like refined gameplay loop with the shrines and like the patron phases. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's almost funny because, especially because we had the item rework recently as well. Like the big problem we had in the past was that you get a lot of value from buying 500 and the 1200 items, 1250 I think they were way back when.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers Veil Walker. If you do remember Veil Walker as a good item, I feel sorry for you.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. But yeah, it's kind of weird that it went from you would buy a lot of 500 items, then maybe 1.5k and 3k, but you would mainly fill 500 items. That sort of passed through into the initial take of Deadlock, where you would buy a lot of those items where you were forced to pay to buy like the 4 gun, the 4 vitality, and the 4 spirit. And now we've moved completely away from that. So we're probably the furthest away right now than we've ever been from like the Neon Prime itemization, because there was at least a little bit that carried across pre-item rework, which is it's interesting how far we've come in that amount of time.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I mean, still there's still like so many remnants, like so many items in the shop right now are like from Neon Prime. Think of like Vortex Web. That's Vacuum Web, you know? If you look at who else was it? I think it's Blood Tribute. The one where like it drains your health for gun damage, I believe it is, right? There's the item called Overdrive in Neon Prime. It does the exact same. It does a really similar thing, rather. So like it's interesting, like even though we are so far away from Neon Prime, they still use a lot of ideas. Yeah.
Is the curse animation Neon Prime?
Yes,
because that looks Neon Prime, because the glitchy tech pop, isn't it? Really. So yeah,
like the
even
TV effects,
yeah. So Curse is just Neon Prime animation. So I wonder if they'll change that at some point as well.
Definitely, yeah.
As an
Yeah, I mean,
animation, so it's wild.
yeah. I mean, like Curse's like name just used to be called Glitch. That was the
Oh
actor.
well, there you go. Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So
You know what
interesting.
I find funny as well? Wasn't it only recently we had like even the targeting reticles? Like you kind of got used to them, and I forgot. Like obviously
Yeah.
that's a bit Neon
Yeah.
Prime-y, but they're finally like Deadlock theme now. But they were Neon Prime-esque for God the longest time, right? That was like item rework territory. We replaced
Yep.
those finally.
Yep. It's wild. It's wild how much how like so much it like was still there and that we just like took for granted. I mean, like look at Bebop. Like
Yeah.
people don't really mind Bebop, even though he's like all Neon Prime.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like,
I say
that
this
fits,
every
that fits.
time.
Yeah,
But
we do
it's
talk about this
weird.
a lot.
Man, I do wonder what they'll do with Bebop. We were talking about this last week because I was just saying, like, it is funny because I think for some reason he's so accepted and so, like, he's kind of iconic in the way he looks,
is.
but obviously very out of place, really. But I think there's a bit of a split where people are like, yeah, it's fine, or, they'll rework him. But yeah, it's weird with that one. You notice the disdain for, like, Grey Talon. Everyone's just like, it's just an old man, like...
Yeah, it's an old dude. Yeah, I think the Great Talon, Great Talon just doesn't fit. But yeah, Bebop and Yamato kind of could. They both could. I mean, Yamato's lore actually does work fairly decently well with Deadlock overall, coming from Neon Prime, and the recolor doesn't seem as out of place as you might think.
It's still
so
such a weird design.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I made me laugh so much with this rework because I think that not the rework but the redesign that was on Reddit, which you can go download right now, which is cool. But it made me laugh so much. I was like, I wonder what they did with the forehead because I actually had to look at it. And they literally just maxed it as the top knot, and I was like, it's a great idea,
It's
and
genius.
it works, yeah.
Yep.
Really, really good stuff. So I was very impressed by that. I think that was the one thing that's why a lot of people steered away from the Yamato redesigns. Because like, what do you do with that forehead? And that is that's one way to get around it.
I'm always so curious about like what Krill will become, because it's just like Krill's obviously like a kind of weird sort of alien species, you know, he's like a different guy compared to everyone else. I do love how sometimes when you kill Mo and Krill in like a test game, he just kind of falls off frozen and rolls away.
Yeah.
I've seen those. It's so dumb.
Man, it gets me every time.
His little paws in stasis. Yeah, it's not good.
Just
Not
crouching
good.
and rolling. But that did remind me, though, thinking about that was one of the really crazy things, is obviously when we did this last time around and it became Dead Air Lost Media, it was when you blew my mind just saying like, oh yeah, here we've got kind of all the key story beats for Neon Prime, and it was all just left there.
I still cannot believe that. At some time, someone at Valve wrote like a draft of what seems to be like a newspaper entry for like the city of Fracture, which is like a Neon Prime's cursed apple, you know, and just like what the game was about, every single faction that we have since like linked to every character in Neon Prime, and they left it there. At some point, they even moved it from like one file to another. Like it seemed like they just knew about it. I believe it's been removed. I can't be sure, but for a very, very, very long time it existed, and I believe it still does, and it just like tells you almost everything about Neon Prime. Like the only parts that were missing are like hero lore, but like the main like story is just like spelled out for us. Like it was not like a summoning, but it was like a battle to like win the election. Like each like candidate would like bring in like six humble heroes from like different like boroughs of the city. It's crazy, and it's really fun to see like how that was like moved into Deadlock, and how some like character like relations were kept. Like Bebop and Lash has been a thing since forever, it seems, and they kept it because it was funny. We have lost since Ballista, which was meant to be Lash's ex. We have lost them completely from the game, which is really odd, by the way, but that's something else. We also Callie. We have lost Callie. Callie was as well in the bear pit with Bebop and Lash. For some reason, he is the only Neon Prime character still in like playable in the game that like hasn't been reworked. I don't know why he's still there. Even like in my opinion, he's ready. I think he's a fun hero as is. Just tweak a bit of stats, because he was a very key part of Neon Prime. It seems for a long time. He has his place in the lore. He has like relations to other characters. He has been in the game seemingly since forever, and he's just not there. It's very sad.
Yeah, I mean it's worse when you know that Viper's currently wearing Callie's skin,
But green.
which is horrid. Yeah, really mean.
And it sucks because like people have like associated Callie's model with Viper now, and when people talk about Callie, they
So you
talk
can
about
still play Callie in Deadlock, right? Because you can just use select hero to play that character.
Yeah, and like that's what I mean. It's like Callie is still in the game, like as he is, even though like Akimbo, Ballista, Tempest, all these heroes that were very key in Neon Prime and were in the game at the same time as Callie were just like cut from the game completely. But Callie stayed and is still playable in the files. He has all his abilities. Personally, I think he could be put in the main game. He has fun abilities. He has like a skill shot, and he has a cool design that is now that the Viper stole.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's rough as well, because I really did love the Callie design. Because you could imagine it being like this kind of weird Aussie lizard with like cans. I don't know, it was just had so much going on where it looked visually very interesting. Like the little shorts with a utility belt, and you're like, oh, he's just out drinking some brews, having a couple of bevs with the lads. Like, it was sick.
I mean, the boomerangs are just awesome anyway. As a like you say, as a character, it is just finished.
Even though a bunch of mechanics on him are just like removed, his boomerang, right? The way it works right now is you can throw it, it comes back to you. That's about it. In Neon Prime, it had a mechanic where if you caught it, you would get your cooldown on it reduced, and you could lose it like behind the trees, behind things, and then you would get like a penalty. So you had like a mechanic of like throwing it and then catching it again, which is not there. It still works if you like enable it, but it's so odd. It's that hero still makes no. I don't know why he's not in the game. Like his current voice, something really fun. His current voice is Infernus with a filter. I believe the thank you line that he has is 1-to-1 with Infernus's current thank you line, just like a different filter. It's really funny. It's wild. It's so wild. This game's development is like. It's insane. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, you're right. Because I mean, the whole bear pits thing is just a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, where there was just this whole lore. Because Lash at the moment kind of just does have that little bit of lore between him and Bebop, and the whole shtick is that they don't like each other. But what people don't realize is that there is just this whole other world out there for Lash that really expands on his character and his relationships.
Yeah, back then he had he owned the dojo completely. He had an ex called Ballista, which was like a demo man kind of hero that with mines, a shotgun, could place like a giant bomb on the ground that would explode. And then there was Callie as well. Callie was I believe he was like a retired old fighter. It's just that's just lost, and so is like a lot of other lore that we probably don't know about. Like Abrams was some time soldier, like he was someone from like a different timeline, I believe, or like he believed he was at least. Just wild things. Yeah, they sometimes they were like maybe going a bit too like weird and wacky.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they had all this and just like randomly went
Left the Valve fanfic
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
files.
and it's all there for some reason. It's wild.
It did feel like a lot of it they almost wanted people to find, just as like, we'll leave enough remnants so that people realize and then kind of accept, all right, Deadlock's actually way more fleshed out, like this is the better choice. But they wanted you to have the breadcrumbs to like piece it together and know, because I think that happens a lot, right, where like, especially with Valve games and like lost media surrounding them, where they show off a small snippet, like a little tech demo or some kind of idea they were doing, and then at some point in development, they must have had a meeting and just said, nah, you know what? Scrap it, take what we can, do it again. That felt like the whole process of Deadlock, where it just kept getting rebooted, restarted, tweaked slightly. So I'm kind of curious if that was the intention, if they sort of just said, you know what? We're never going to do anything with this, but it is a nice homage to let people know, here's some of the bits that existed. Like, here's a few of the models, here's some of the sounds. Hell, even the music, right? When kind of there was the big discovery with Cadence, where it was like, oh, this could very well be some of the music that's actually designed for the game, just left in a very interesting way.
Yeah. And so, like, even recently, the concept art that they shipped of, like, a city, and the lane is like a teal color, and it's a like a very like high-res concept art. I believe it's called BG_city in the files. That was like a wild one when they shipped that one, and we found it. It was very, very random, and maybe it still shows that like I don't know, maybe they still want to like show us some stuff. I don't know. It's Neon Prime is a really interesting case too, because it seems like Valve really doesn't want to talk about it that much.
Yeah.
It's
but you
odd.
can find it if you want.
Yeah, it's like for the longest time they had left all the most of like the videos to like teach players how to play the game of Neon Prime. They left a bunch, like a couple of ability videos as well. They have recently gotten rid of all of them, apart from the ones of Nano, like Old Calico. They're still chilling in there. But yeah, it just like it's so interesting. Even like in very, very early Deadlock, which like there's a build that we don't have, but that people played, where Warden had all of his like Neon Prime voice acting completely, where he was like a more German. That's like insane lost media. Like there's like a patch note that says like replace Warden VO for like new model.
Yeah.
And
oh my god. Okay.
I believe like the oldest build we have is like a May 18th. I believe if we have a build, if I remember, it's like 1 or 2 weeks older than that, we would have the entire VO set, because we have a chunk, but it's so tiny, and it's a shame because it's kind of funny.
There might be somewhere out there just holding on to a file set which could reveal so much.
We have
Someone
tried.
that played
Who was
and
in
then never
slightly
updated. Oh.
Yeah.
We have
so
tried.
sad.
We have tried asking so many people, but we had very good leads, but everyone's games auto-updated, which is really sad.
Oh no!
Like we had found someone like if I remember months ago, we found someone that like hadn't played since that was on, I believe, or something really close, and the game just auto-updated. It was tragic. It was so sad.
There's about 300 to 500 people playing at that time as well, so it is a really small number of people.
Yeah,
and then it'd have to be someone who just didn't play again after that date as well, so you're cutting it down even further. This is a public call to anyone who hasn't played since then. Don't update your game. Contact Lammarite. Contact the Deadlock modding community.
Back then, I'm sorry, it's been a year that the game has they have either uninstalled it or the game has been updated. I believe also as well, there's these things called manifests. They're like a little number that you can plot in, and it's like an ID to like one game version, essentially. And theoretically, if we had the humble Neon Prime manifests, we could download them just like from Steam. We tried to get like manifests from these like older builds because they are like stored in a cache, but that was also randomly cleared by like Steam or something. So it's very tragic, but I don't think we have there's much hope of us getting like a build older than like a May.
That's true, Lost Medium.
Definitely.
Lost Medium.
Unless Yoshi wants
R.I.P.
to
German
humbly show it.
Warden. Yeah, maybe one day
I mean, not
we'll
just
get
Warden.
lucky.
There's
Please,
like
Valve.
there's
Please.
so much art as well. Like if you go back on the forums and you go to like the really old posts, you can see like on the top bar, Paradox has her old Chrono art. Kelvin has his old art. Like God knows how much we have. The iconic the iconic piece of art of Haze V1, like her portrait. We only have that because it was like deleted in the May 18th build, so you can like browse it, like you can browse the files that were like just deleted by Valve, and we were able to find that like piece of Haze art.
Splatoon Haze.
Yeah, so close to us like losing that completely, which is insane. I mean, it wouldn't have been really lost because it turns out Valve leaked it in like 2021 and no one cared.
What?
Yeah, you told us about this, right? Wasn't it in,
I
like,
remember
it was
that.
in a build of Dota for like forever, right? And
Okay.
no one noticed.
The date isn't exact, but somewhere in like 2021 or 2020, Valve added to the Dota tools like something for cloth, and as like an example image, it was just old Haze from Neon Prime, just chilling there. I think people noticed back then, but they just thought it was Dota, even though it was like like someone with guns, you know. And
Yeah.
a year later, they did the same with Bebop, and the image was
It happened
Oh,
twice.
and
no
the image was called
way.
like Bebop example, but people just didn't like. People just thought it was like, oh, it's like a new.
That's a pudge skin.
Yeah, you know, and it's wild because it's something similar too. It turns out for like God knows how long we had access to a Neon Prime like match data, but just no one looked into it. Only afterwards, like we could just like browse like a list, and it was a bunch of like scoreboards essentially of Neon Prime. We have some of them still. And it just mentions Ballista, it mentions Tempest, it mentions like all that you can think of. It gives us like an idea of how like some heroes evolved. Like in like 2021, Shiv had Killing Blow, which is interesting because that Shiv ult went through like many iterations only to then go back to Killing Blow. There's so much to this game. It's wild.
Oh, dude, it's weird as well because we had that, like, even with Viscous, right? Where I remember when I think it was, this was like June time last year, so literally like a year ago, finding it where before Viscous was added, like playable in the game, but for a lot of you new people, he was kind of, you know, off to the side when we had a much more limited hero pool, but he was still in the files. That was when he would just turn into an entire puddle as his ult, and it was
Yeah.
just the layer of viscous goo on the floor. But there was like a lot of other ultimates that they had ideas for with him as well, where it was really interesting, obviously, how then when we finally got him, they went for the ball, and it was like, oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think that was because they realized they couldn't just copy Zack from League of Legends, who was also a goo boy, and they were like, our ultimate's very similar, and it felt kind of more like that was placeholder. Like we could do something similar just to test out the physics, but yeah, eventually came through. I think what is interesting at the moment about in terms of new heroes is that they are, I would say at this point, running. It feels like they're not updating some of the Neon Prime heroes that we know still exist, like for instance Thumper and stuff like that. They're
Don't talk
the
about
models aren't
Thumper.
getting. Yeah,
Thumper is not real. I don't know who he is. He makes no sense. He makes no sense in like our idea of what the game was.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean,
Thumper.
there is stuff like that, but I mean, in terms of the Neon Prime
Yeah.
heroes, that they are sort of running out of them now. So I imagine the heroes that we start to get next will be more on the line of what Deadlock is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally think there's like very much merit. These old ideas still have merit, I believe. One that like hits close to home is Tempest. Tempest, I believe, is a cool character. Like his ult is Zeus from Dota. Like it spawns like it's a map-wide ultimate, one of its kind. It spawns like a bunch of like lightning bolts on people, and then if you don't hide or like if you don't find a building within X seconds, you just get blasted by lightning. That's kind of cool, you know. And he had like mechanics with like amping his gun and stuff. They tried a lot of ideas that I really hope we can see them bringing back at some point.
Come back, yeah.
It would just be cool in some way. Like the items, they did that, and people like vacuum web. People, I mean, I think so. You know, so like, you know, maybe they can like find like a cool. I mean, Calico is a whole thing. She has went through like so many different kits, even like at some like she for a long time, and I think like even like Yoshi said so, she was meant to be like a summoner hero.
Yeah.
Like she would summon troopers to like help you in lane. Her ult was like spawning like a small army of like little people that would like melee players.
Not more melee.
She had like a lot of weird like parts to her kit, and then she became like a completely different hero when Deadlock released, where she can like
She still summoned towers, but those were silly.
Those were so broken.
The cat statues, oh man.
Placing him on the skybox, that was a good time.
It would literally, I remember so many times it'd be like Hero Labs would open, you'd queue up, we'd somehow queue into each other. It's like Lammarite's got the calico. Oh no, here we go. Just statue. You'd walk past a corner, just bzzz, instantly dead.
I believe back in labs I had like a 100% a calico in, right? I had like I had the build where basically we could like just like stall the game forever, because I could like put like so many in the base that like I couldn't be pushed. Like you could curse whatever, as long as I like melee people, they would be like hunted down by the cats, and for some reason the cats were like would cloak, I believe. So it was just it was insane. I don't know.
It was ridiculous.
It was really fun though. I mean, like I remember like in the modding server we were like 6-stacking every time, and we would optimize our rosters. So always we had 4 people playing the new heroes, so we could like just like mess about and give feedback on them. It was so much fun. Like I remember I would wake up at the EU labs time, play like 6-stack that, then wait until NA times at like 2 a.m. and then like 6-stack that as well. It was so much fun. Just playing every like single like possible hour of Hero Labs. So much fun.
Oh man, it was a crazy period. For those of you that weren't there, Hero Lab's it doesn't really get played much anymore. It's hard to find a game like you. Sometimes it's an impossible feat of getting in there. But it was good. It was an interesting idea. I love the fact that was the path they went down, and the fact we did get like 4 heroes out of it in the game now. It was pretty cool. It was interesting as well, though, because obviously we tested a lot of those kits in Hero Labs, and then when they were added, it was just like completely reworked on a couple of them, where it was just, whoa, all new abilities for Calico, this has changed. It was kind of sudden when they got dropped in. It was like, oh, all right, this is all very different.
Yeah, they probably just like, I think they mostly like used labs to kind of know, okay, this kit doesn't really work, let's just like change that completely. This kit people like, let's keep it. It's it was an interesting idea, but
yeah,
I believe at some point they made it so it was open 24/7, and that just kind of killed the game mode on top of them like not really updating it very much.
It didn't really have that exclusivity thing of like, oh, this is when I should be playing this, but if it's 24/7, I'm just going to play classic mode. It's kind of sad that we haven't really heard too much more about Trapper, Raven, and all that. They've just kind of been left on the wayside at this point. It just sat there. But I hope they do some stuff with him soon, because I actually really like the Trapper design. I think he's a really fun hero. So
He's so
I
weird.
hope they work on him at some point. Yeah, exactly. He's weird. He is weird. I talk about it all the time. Right? I really like Raven as well. I think they have a cool direction from him. He has a cool kit. He has a cool design already. Like, yeah, I wish they would. I would finish those up, because they are just sat there teasing us at the moment.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's like Raven has like a whole like design, and like he has a bit of lore, and he has like he's fully voice acted, but his kit is like missing an ability. He has like custom animations though, and like a fully done model. It's really bizarre. Like I don't know. It's super odd.
Yeah, it is. It is. I hope we do see more. I like the idea of his lore as well. It was very interesting. I feel like we do need a bit of a super spy in Deadlock.
Yeah.
Because it kind of fits where Deadlock feels like it's got a lot of combinations of like sort of tropes and character types from different media and, you know, sort of older movies. So I think he'd fit. Interestingly, what do you think about this, boys, for a pitch? I was watching The Mask yesterday. Do you remember the Jim Carrey movie? I think we should have the mask hero that, like, his ultimate is he puts on the mask and, you know, he has all these different unique abilities. He's kind of like a cool cartoon character. Imagine that bad boy stepping around in his zoot suit, just sort of giving it the big one. I think that would work. I think we should push for the mask in Deadlock. Thoughts on that?
I'd be down.
All right, good. I'm glad we're in unison on this one. I'll get that on the forums.
The humble mask.
Yeah, I mean, it would work. It would definitely work. Throw him in. I mean, you're cooking something good there. To be fair, though, you are talking about cartoony, because I will say, like, Neon Prime did have that aspect of being a little bit more cartoony than Deadlock, because they went a little bit more realistic, and now it feels like sort of going the other way again.
Yeah.
Which is odd.
I was like talking about this with someone a couple days ago. It really seems like, yeah, Neon Prime, they kind of went all in on the wacky, silly, cartoony art style, and then we still don't know what happened, but it seemed like they just did like a complete 180 into like a very gritty and very like dark, more like, yeah, just like darker ambience and atmosphere for Deadlock. And now they're going, like, as you said, back to like more colors, more like cartoon art style, and it's odd. I mean, I do think like the switch from like the Neon Prime to Deadlock was very good, but I part of me kind of misses the like early like darker look to Deadlock. It had like a very like unique feel to it.
Yeah. I do like what they're doing with it though currently, because it still feels gritty, but it has a lot more character to it, if that makes sense.
Oh, the
because
signage.
I do think, because I think that one of the coolest things about Deadlock, and we talk about all the time on this podcast, is just the personalities of all the characters. And I think that the new shaders have a huge amount of personality added, and it's not just another make it look realistic. And I think that's what they wanted to get away from in the first place when they shift away from Neon Prime. Is there is a lot of cyberpunky stuff coming out right now, and we don't want to be like the rest. And then, yes, they have this original setting and original characters, but the art style kind of became, I would say, a little bit more bland. But now it's like, I would say, the best of both worlds from what they tried to do with Neon Prime and now what they're trying to do with Deadlock.
Yeah, it feels like I think we're going more towards a comic book style, which I think is cool. I do like that. I've always been a big fan of like the Hellboy comics and kind of like Mike Magnola's artwork, and a lot of what they've been doing feels far more stylized. Because like if you compare Old Church to the New Church model, it's so much more jaggy and kind of hard edges, right? Where it looks like if there was even like a slight filter over the game, it would just feel like a comic book asset, where especially with like the new models and the way they look, like new Abrams, new Dynamo and stuff, it all kind of feels like that's the vibe. But I will say this is one thing I want to kind of get your ideas on as well, Lammarite, and see if there's any insight into this. I've always liked how weirdly it kind of seems like it goes in cycles with Valve's development, where they do make the product, then make the product but gritty, and then go, okay, maybe not, let's leave it. But what do we know about that period? Because obviously we got some of the leftovers, and we had like the more realistic lighting shaders and stuff for a while, and the really like hard bump maps for textures that were left in some of the earlier sort of June to May builds.
Yep.
But now all of that's gone, and it very much is a different game. Like models are fully bright no matter where they are and stuff. How much did we lose that we could have known about that sort of period of them trying to make it the grittier version of Deadlock before we started to move away from that?
There was a lot of art that stayed over for the most part, right? This version that we labeled as Shadowline, because a couple of voice lines say so, and I believe they had a website like ready for that, playshadowline.com. Like they had all that ready. But we don't know really how long it lasted. Right now, it's like we use it as a term to like refer to after Neon Prime, before Deadlock. But I believe it's like a much, much shorter time frame that was just when they were like trying to like, figure out what to do. Because it seemed like for a long time, Shadowline or like early Deadlock was just Caldera Trooper, half into New York style, with Neon Prime heroes and a patron, and all the tech was like replaced with magic. In terms of like the proper like gritty style though, we don't really know that much because it never like went too far in development. We have like the current loading screen concept art is probably from that time because it's much darker and like at night. It even has like I believe like the version that they used on Discord has like an old Infernus in the background. It's pretty cool. We do have some like, I believe we have Infernus's model from at the time where he had this like, he had like a tail from at that time. We don't have that much left. We have the a bunch of signage. Like I believe if you like go to the old map, there's like the metal skin signage, and you can see Sinclair on the sign because back then that was like the more like gritty I guess art style was just they tried something darker, at least in concept art they tried something darker. It didn't really pan out the way that they wanted to probably, so they went for a more colorful thing in Deadlock. But there really isn't that much content to really talk about here. It's pretty rough because it's also like it's a part that we're so unsure of. But yeah, just imagine Street Test, right, from May. But imagine that in the skybox you have a bunch of like leftover Neon Prime buildings. That the lighting looks pretty bad. Imagine as well a bunch of like Neon Prime sounds and hero names. That's basically what Shadowline probably was. I don't think it was anything substantial. It never went too far, it seems. It shaped the way for Deadlock, that's for sure. But never went too far, I believe.
So it is more of kind of... It was the stepping stone of testing, kind of transitioning Neon Prime into then what became Deadlock. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Did we... is this a Mandela effect, or did we have an older Ivy texture that was really scary? Or is that something I've inputted in my brain?
Do you mean the purple one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that is what we label as purple Shadowline Ivy. It's... we don't know. She had, like, pretty big horns, I believe. That's about it that we know. She used Callie's model as a body base, which I think she still does. That's kind of all that there is. We don't really know too much. I believe, it might have been when she had like the ult where she could fly and burst flames down. That was like her first ultimate that we know, where she could like. It was basically, it was kind of like the ult right now, where you like take up and take flight, but you would like have like a bebop beam in front of you that would burn people. Then she had the ult where she would like just fly up and fall down and do nothing, and now she has the airdrop one, which is super cool.
Because I feel like there was some holdovers with that, because like her wing texture now, it's kind of hard to see, right? But it's literally got like all the it's got like the Roman numerals. I think it has IV, doesn't it? Right? Like I thought that was always an interesting callback, where it's like you've got IV because she throws IV, but also IV on the model, and it was like, okay, I kind of see where you've got on the name and stuff. That was interesting. Man, it's weird. That's always a fascinating period, I feel like, where like Valve do kind of play around with the concept, and then it gets a bit darker. Like the whole idea of sort of, a lot of this stuff we've only recently really got full high quality footage of with Half-Life 2's development. It's funny to think there was obviously that shorter kind of window with Deadlock, and then we really sort of went full steam ahead with, we've got an idea for the game now, we know what it's going to be, just refine.
Yeah, and I do believe that we currently have like Shadowline footage. If you look at if you just like browse the current tutorials in Deadlock, some videos are really old, and some of them I believe are from like February of 2023, or February of 2024. Somewhere along those lines, and like some of these like really old videos, you can see Neon Prime buildings in the background, just like full scale, like the big skyscrapers. It's kind of wild. Only for like a couple frames, but you can see them, and that's probably what like Shadowline was. You can even like spot in a different video, Inferno having some like wild mechanics again. I believe it was Flame Dash would give you a 50 damage jump to any targets hit. And Afterburn could steal Spirit Power. Like, that was a random video as well that you can just spot. That might as well be from like Shadowline, because it's from February of 2023.
Okay.
No, 2024. I'm messing up the dates.
So it's all like super recent. Like, because that's the thing. I think it's weird with development of Deadlock, because it feels so expansive, but then obviously the segments are quite crunched, where it was all all very quick, sort of coming together. You reminded me as well. That's the interesting thing about that loading screen concept art, because obviously you blew our minds originally when we were like, whoa, okay, there was an alternate version, but now I can't not notice it. But every time I load into a game of Deadlock, you can still see in the puddle the reflection of Infernus.
You can?
You still see him in the puddle, but his model's been edited out. And it really, like, when you analyze the image and stare at it now, it's like, I can see where it's left over some bits and been like textured over, but you can still see his little head and his like back in the reflection of the puddle where he would be standing. So I was like, damn, that's crazy how we never would have known. It would have been so weird if they didn't just kind of mess up and have it as the invite banner for that very short time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, because like Deadlock is like what, like a year, maybe 2 of development. Neon Prime is like 4. 3. I don't know. Neon Prime took like a very long time to cook up, whereas like Deadlock is in comparison super short. And
I think they had a lot of the ideas ready to go, right?
Just quick buy.
I mean, it's a pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome for them. So it did seem like it all came together insanely quickly.
Yeah.
They were working with a decent template.
And it seems like some features are just gone for now, but will come back. You can spot quick buy in the Prime footage. That was gone for like a long time, which is weird, but it's the game is like coming together really quickly. I believe partly because it seemed like they had a bunch of old ideas, kind of said, okay, let's not put them in just yet. Let's get like the rest of the game up to date to our new style and design, and then like sprinkle the new things back in, like quick buy, like back then Shiv, Viscous, and then new thing, Mirage, It's super cool.
Man, Mirage when he had that huge beetle on his back and that weird model.
Little anime boy. Yeah, it was odd. It was odd. Looked like Kingdom Hearts 2, honestly, had come out to play in Deadlock.
I believe it was McGinnis's head, by the way. The blue head. I think it was just
Really?
McGinnis. It was it's a mess. I believe it's McGinnis's body head with Chrono, so Neon Prime Paradox, but with Neon Prime Paradox's coat, but a strange version of it. I believe it's like really, really old. And then like the beetle on his back was from a random part of signage.
Yeah, it was from the
of
shop
Prime.
in the alley,
Yes.
right? Under the car park. Yeah.
In the market. And Mirage, we don't know really much about him. The Neon Prime lore had Jins, but he is not from Neon Prime. I don't think so at all. He was like definitely cooked up later during this like period of Neon Prime into Deadlock. He was like being cooked up there. We have like mentions that he might have had like a sand wall. He could launch his beetle on his back, and that could like roam around, find people, and then bite them, and it could be killed like individually maybe. He had like some ability called Dreamweaver, and that's all been like scrubbed away. But we have like some traces. Mirage on his own is really weird, really really wild hero.
Oh, dude, it's so insane. It reminds me as well. You've actually blown my mind there a little bit because I always kind of synonymously thought as the paradox gun that we have now that Mirage used to have.
Yes.
My brain associated that of like, oh, that's just more of a default Neon Prime gun. But it makes more sense if the reason Mirage also had it is just because it was the same body group. So they reused what was originally obviously the kind of paradox design, and then that held over into Deadlock now. But obviously that is a very Neon Prime aesthetic with the way it like rotates on its axis, and it looks like a Ratchet and Clank kind of type vibe, you know?
It's super cool, yeah. And I believe like right now it's like a matte like metalish texture. It's meant to have like a full texture, but I guess it looked too like sci-fi. It's like chrome blue, but they just like removed it and put like a black
probably
texture.
wouldn't work in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I think the current one is like kind of iconic to me. Like just like Paradox as a whole is such a good design.
Yeah, she doesn't really need that much. I think she's sort of similar to Dynamo in a sense, where when they did his update, like they didn't have to do too much. It was just like the HD remaster, which I hope they do the same for Paradox, because that gun, I think you're right, where it just doesn't feel like it needs changing all that much.
It's so cool. Like it has like all these sounds. Yeah. It's super nice. I like it a lot.
It is really interesting. It's fun. It's like a hodgepodge of all the different sort of Valve concepts rolled into one. It's I think it's quite interesting to get a look into some of what we don't have and won't ever get to play. Because obviously it's like the game's going to keep on getting updated. We'll be here in another year's time saying how good it is and how much fun we're having. But I think it's fun to kind of theorize on what we never got, right? Sometimes the before is a bit more interesting in sparking the curiosity rather than the after that's always there.
Yeah. The current speculating that goes on today.
Oh, we do so much, and we look into Neon Prime way too much, and we still find like new stuff all the time. New mechanics, new ideas, things that they had tried in the past and that they left like little bits of. There was an entire hero that is pretty interesting called Cold Metal. What he was
I've never
meant
heard
to,
of this.
well, yeah, he's obscure. His gimmick was that he had a passive or something where you could use it and it would mark a player on the enemy team as like a target. And so you would have a contract to kill that person, and if you did, you would get like bonuses of I forgot what. So he had that mechanic, and he had like a mechanic where he could become a cube. I assume like viscous, and then that would fire like heat-seeking missiles and wild. So many hero concepts they scrapped. They had like a hero based around summoning a drone. He was called Duo, and that drone you could like swap into that drone and control it, and like tell it to like crash there or like spy on an area. All these mechanics are just kind of like just completely gone now. The drones, they tried. Drones are like in so many different places in Neon Prime. There's a chance that they might have been awards at some point. Like just today, like right before going in this podcast, we found like old shaders linked to Fog of War on the minimap.
Oh.
And
Oh my god.
it turns out they had an ability called spy drone, and it's like maybe the drone could like reveal places, like kind of act as a ward. We keep finding things every day on this game, because like turns out when you have like years and years of like experiments, things kind of stick. One thing that like comes up to me is on the Caldera map, there's a bunch of spots for teleports. I believe for a long time you had the zip lines, and at the same time you could TP in between lanes, very much like in Dota. I think the key is still bound right now. I think the key is G, but like that's meant to be like your key to TP. It doesn't work at all. But yeah, there's like a marker on like each walker and each guardian, and I believe for a while you could like TP. Even for a while the current heroes, I think like Abrams was one. During the time of Green Lane, when they were making Green in real, they gave Abrams like lines of like I'm TPing to green, I'm TPing to blue, I'm TPing to orange. These lines never really came to be, but maybe they thought of like adding it back, or maybe for like the TPs that they had on the map, or I mean that they still have on the map. But you know, it's yeah, so many gameplay experiments that we still find and discover to this day. It's super interesting, and it makes me hope this a call for something to happen. Maybe one day we get like some info dump from Yoshi or something that gives us like a that because we've been making so many
it would
theories.
be nice.
Yeah.
And like there's so many people who want to know what the game was, what they tried, what worked, what didn't work. And even though we believe to have like a good idea of how it was or how it might have been, it'd be cool to have something, just like more footage, confirmations. I believe
Please, Mr. Yoshi.
Kaori, funnily enough, Kaori on the Discord has been talking a lot. Like they mentioned Akimbo, they mentioned Ballista. I believe they even said that they had never done any VO for Pestilence, which is a very interesting hero on its own, which is super interesting. It's like they had so much back then, so many
Pestilence
tests.
is such a cool character as well, but I think that we'll never get Pestilence because we have Pocket now instead.
I don't think they're really linked at all. What we really know about Pestilence is that they had the passive that would make their bullets cause an infection, whatever that means, probably like Infernus, I don't know. I believe that he also had a drone. It's wild. We don't really know that much about Pestilence, but he has been there for some time, and Kaori remembers Pestilence, which is kind of cool, because maybe he's not that old after all, you know.
Yeah, we'll never really know. That is interesting as well. I wonder if kind of the way that the mechanics work for Mirage TP, where he can teleport to objectives, is some kind of holdover of the idea of the different objectives being teleport points.
You know what? You might be right.
Yeah.
It might have worked in a similar way, where you would press a key, and then you could like hover the minimap and click on the objectives, because as you said, when you use Mirage TP, you can hover over them, and you can even click them, and it plays a voice line, and it keeps yeah. Like you know what? That's actually really good. That might have
food for thought.
that might have been how it worked. Not even joking. Like they probably had like a link from the objective to the TP point, and you could click on it. You know what? That's
we're figuring it out. We're
that is-
solving
that
it.
is-
Yeah, there we go.
that's super interesting. Holy yeah.
Oh man. All right. Any last minute thoughts? What else do we want to get in before we start to wrap this one up? Because I think there's a lot of information for everyone to digest from this. Anything on the tip of your tongue, Lammarite, that you can think of? Any curveballs?
Oh God, that is a.
It's a loaded question.
It is a very that is one question. Any curveballs? Honestly, one of Viscus's ultimate was a wall.
Oh really?
That is
whole wall of goo.
That's all I have. It was called Goo Wall. And
Nice.
that's all we
Yeah.
know. That's all we know. There you go.
Brilliant.
That's my curveball.
All right, that's good. We'll get some fan art on the go of
That's the
goo
goo
wall. Yeah.
The Goo Wall.
I'll get Daisy to work on that. A nice goo wall of Viscus with his little face in the middle, just
Yeah.
smiling away. Oh,
That
damn.
would be awesome.
No, that's sick. I think there was a lot of good stuff in here. There's things that I think a lot of people won't know about, kind of. It sparks the curiosity, 'cause that's always the fun thing. Whenever we talk about Neon Prime, it always leaves you kind of curious about more and wanting to delve deeper into it. I will say, of course, for anyone listening to the podcast, if you're not familiar with the modding scene, you're not familiar what everyone is up to over there, there will be a link in the description. Definitely check it out. It's a very nice community. Everyone's very easy to engage with. If you've got any questions, you're struggling, all the tutorials are very simple. You can kind of find your way through it all and understand what you need to do in terms of kind of modding the game and stuff like that. It's worth checking it out. And also on top of that, if you do have any fan art you've drawn whilst listening to this of Viscus as a goo wall, you can send that in as well. Use like a hashtag #deadairart on Twitter or something, and we'll track it down. But yeah, definitely worth getting in
Push
there,
it out.
getting them on Discord, and check it all out.
Did he become a Goo Wall, or did he create a Goo Wall?
He
See,
is the goo wall.
I'm imagining
That's a
his
good
whole
question.
body is the goo wall, right? Like he fully just turns into a wall, like
Yeah,
I will
that's-
protect my
oh.
friends.
like Jake the dog. You know, he stretches
Yeah.
out into wall.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Just if anyone is like curious about Neon Prime, just in the server we have like a chat just linked of Neon Prime. I've even been like working with some people on a remake of the entire map that you can browse and look through. It looks pretty cool, and it gives you like an idea of like what the map looked like back then. It was a complete. It's wild. Some of the parts are still like left in the current map, but it's a very different looking just map. It's super cool. So yeah, you can check that out.
It is sick. The Caldera restoration project has been going on for a while now.
Almost
This
a
is
year.
fun.
Almost
Yeah,
a
that's
year.
what I was gonna say. It's cool that like. Obviously, we kind of would just generally we'd chat through like the official Discord and kind of got to know each other from that period, the early days where it was a lot more lockdown, set
Yeah.
testing times. It's funny to think how much it's all changed in 12 months. 12 months, guys, and it's nearly a completely different game. Like, it's absolute insanity. But it has been a pleasure. I'm really glad we not only got to meet you back then, Lammarite, but obviously we've become
Yeah.
quite good friends, and now we finally got to do the podcast and people will actually hear it this time.
Hopefully, who knows? Maybe.
No,
maybe
don't go there. Don't glitch it.
He's
don't
done it
glitch
again.
don't
He's done it
glitch
again.
No.
Vortex web him, quick.
Quick. Get him with the Mo and Krillo. The combo's out. The tunnel rats are back. All right, that's it. All right, well, there we go. That's another episode of the Dead Air podcast. Again, all the links that are relevant will be in the description. Go check out as well if you've got any curiosities about some of the older Neon Prime footage. There's stuff on Lammarite's channel. There's all sorts of things going on. This should be a good springboard to get you into it. Bit of Neon Prime theme content recently, which is always nice. It's nice to look backwards. But there you go, boys. Right, any final thoughts before we close this one?
No,
Not really.
let's wrap it up.
All right.
Wrap it up.
We'll
Let's
put
wrap
it.
Lammarite up and send him off like a audio
Whoa.
present to you guys.
Wow.
All right. Well, be sure to unwrap Lammarite quickly. He's trapped. He's stuck in there. Get him out of that vortex
He
web.
needs your help.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.